Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session of Let's Talk About Sex. I'm Rosie, and I am an event coordinator at Get2gether. I lead the Let's Talk About Sex programme along with some absolutely fabulous people who I will let introduce themselves in a little while. So I'm chairing, I think, hosting. I'm not quite sure what the exact word is, but I am here, and Becky is moderating in the background. Basically, terms and conditions are: be nice. Please don't be abusive or attack anyone. And try not to be inappropriate. You can leave that up to us. The session today is I'm going to do a wee presentation. We're gonna watch a wee video, super quick video, and then I'm going to hand over to Stephan, Andrew, hopefully Kaz, to show you how we usually lead a session, which should be super exciting. Mary was meant to be here today, but she's been having some tech issues and she sends her love. And Katrina might pop in. The great thing about these sessions is people just pop in and out. So yeah, that would be great. Big thank you to Stephan for starting us off with some music. Can I just say it's absolutely wild? I don't really know who's here. So if you want to introduce yourself, that would be really cute. And yeah, maybe you want to kick off with this video to give you some context as to what we're going to be talking about. Becky, is that all right?
Yeah. Bring you up. Yeah, come on.
When should you kiss on a first date?
Can you still get pregnant with your periods?
Is it okay to be scared to have sex with a partner?
What is a pronoun?
How do you get someone to back off?
Can you catch an STI during your period?
How do I prepare to have sex with my partner?
How do you tell someone that you aren't interested in without offending them?
Is it okay to explain that I am gay?
Implant can't get you pregnant.
If a relationship doesn't work online on face-to-face, how do we make that better with the other person and within ourselves as well?
At first, I felt nervous, didn't want to talk about it, but then once I'd spoke to yourself and you had explained that everything is done kind of in a big family, not to be ashamed about, it blew me out my shell, and I was able to ask questions and was able to say about my feelings.
Cute. So cute. Great. So I am going to introduce a few things. I'm going to do a bit of talking. I'll try not to bore you all. But essentially, yeah, I'm an event coordinator. Some of my team are here. Ella, Claire, Moitza have introduced themselves in the chat. So if you have questions and I'm chatting on, put them in the actual chat and people can answer them for you. So Get2gether is based in Edinburgh, but thanks to Zoom, we've really connected with people across Scotland and you know, because of Lovabilities, we've been speaking to people in America and across the world. So super grateful to these digital connections. We organise and work with people with disabilities to set up social events. And actually the breadth of what we do is we do quite a lot of different stuff. So I won't try and summarize that in the limited time that we have, but I will say that it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, the projects that we've been working on. So we've been working in partnership with Crew2000, who are I've written down a very succinct, here we go. Crew2000 exists to reduce harm, challenge perceptions, and help people make positive decisions about drugs, stimulants, and sexual health. So we've absolutely loved working with them over the next year and a half, over the last year and a half, and hopefully the next year and a half. So I am going to share my screen. That's what I'm going to do. I am going to share my screen. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the project that we've been working on. So I've told you a little bit about us. I've told you a little bit about Crew. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we've been doing what we've been doing. So I think people wonder, why is it important to talk about sex? I personally, and us at Get Together and Crew2000, think there are so many reasons about why it's important to talk about sex. It's a lot of fun. It's really important to normalize talking about sex, to dispel shame. It's integral to a lot of people's experiences as human beings. And as you can see from this quote, it's happening. People are having sex, and actually to not provide resources and start conversations is really dangerous. So we think it's really, really super important. Also, knowledge is power, and not talking about sex actually means that people are lacking information. Especially, we found women and girls with learning disabilities are at greater risk of sexual violence and abuse. I'll go on and talk about our courses and the drop-in sessions that we've done, but during our course we run a session on boundaries and consent, and actually a lot of people feel comfortable to disclose abuse, and it just shows that when people have a safe space and they have language, they will talk about their experiences. I have found that looking at the research, generally research about abuse and trauma, that actually it's only the tip of the iceberg. And actually a lot of people just don't know how to talk about the things that they've experienced, for many different reasons. So I think people ask us, and they ask members, why do you want to talk about sex? Why now? And actually the conversations have always been there. A quote that always sticks with me is from our peer mentor, Mary, and she says, when someone constrains you or doesn't want to give you information, it just makes you hungrier, and it just makes you ask, why are you not telling me this? Why do I not deserve to know this? And it's really problematic, and it's really dangerous. So these are fundamental conversations that actually a lot of people are being denied. And I would ask you to ask yourselves, why do you want to talk about sex? Like, over lunch or over drinks or over WhatsApp. Why does anybody want to talk about sex? And there's a lot to be said for telling your story. And telling your story, having questions, wanting answers, and just wanting to connect with your community informally. It's super important. So why would it be different for people with disabilities? So I was looking over my abstract the other day for when I submitted for coming to this conference, and it's basically a poem. I basically wrote a poem about this beautiful partnership between Crew2000 and Get Together. And these photos are from the attic, because pre-pandemic we would put on club nights at Attic in Edinburgh, and we invited organisations like Crew2000 and LGBT Health and Wellbeing to come along, set up camp, have a wee dance, and talk to our members about, sex. I was going to say sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex, drugs, and LGBT inclusion. So it was really important actually to invite people into this public space and start these conversations around access, support, sexual health, drinking drugs advice, having condoms readily available, and saying to people with disabilities, like, you're allowed access to this as well. So we had such a good time speaking about sex that we thought that we had tentative plans pre-pandemic. We said like, oh, we really need to set up conversations and we really need to do more about this. And actually, because of the crushing isolation of the pandemic, we were able to get the ball rolling. Zoom has been a game changer, actually. And because we have all our sessions on Zoom, it's created like a really inclusive, safe environment for people to really talk. And it also helped that it was during a time, you know, if you cast your foggy memories back to the beginning of the pandemic, it was a time when people were really, really craving touch. One of my favourite facts when I was researching this was that during each government mandated lockdown, within 72 hours, Love Honey's sales increased by 200%. So people were really seeking connection. I mean, physically, but also by having these conversations, people were really wanting to talk about how alone they felt, or how shite, like how rubbish it was to feel so alone. So we started these conversations around masturbation and self-love, and really going back to the crux of the conversation of you and yourself and your relationship with your body. So yeah, it was brilliant. So what did we do? We developed a 4 and a 6 week course, which was around loads of different, like we talked about masturbation, we talked about self-love, talked about boundaries and consent, like safe sex, talking to other people, talking to carers, family, partners. We had drop-in sessions around crushes and flirting and sex toys, worked with Crew2000 and also Enhance the UK, who do fantastic work, and are based, I want to say down south, but actually, yeah, look them up, they're fab. And we developed question and answer sessions alongside. And we also looked at love languages, and big date nights, so people could put into practice the skills that we talked about during the sessions. What happens during sessions? They are conversation based, and gives people a chance to really explore and express their feelings and cast off any feelings of shame, dispel any feelings of shame. People are encouraged to kind of gain the confidence and the skills to open up these conversations with people around them going forward. So it's the idea of like people empowering themselves to build upon their own sex lives, and sexual autonomy, which we've seen, you know, people in our first sessions talking about how they wanted to invest in a new sex toy, and someone reporting back saying, I just bought one and it's brilliant. So it's been fantastic. Yep, member-led. Thank you, Aaron. All the sessions are member-led, and you'll see more of that when I finally stop talking. So evaluating our work, yeah, a lot of people talk about after every session, it always comes up the importance of a safe space. John talked about that in the video, about how he finally felt that he was in a space where he could talk about how he felt without feeling like people were going to laugh at him. You know, it's also about having a consistent resource. So Crew2000, like, they're not going anywhere, you know. Based in Coburn Street, people can drop in, they can ask for advice. Like, we put the Q&As in the back of the newsletter, so even people that aren't digitally connected can be finding out, like, knowing that Crew2000 are there has made a huge difference. So, and you can see, I'll give you a wee minute to read these over. You can see that actually, like, the differences that it's made for different members. So again, it's the idea about the safe space, talking, hey John, talking honestly and openly about sex and relationships. So, but also, like, you can't, our old manager Marion used to talk a lot about, you can't be what you can't see. So actually, like, hearing people talk about their own experience has made other members think, right, okay, so they have that, I want that. Giving people language has been great, especially for people that identify as queer or LGBT. So thinking, oh, right, okay, so actually these feelings that I have, they're valid. And if you look at the last quote, the person said, I am going to get an answer that I understand. And that just makes me think like, okay, so there might be a lot of resources out there, but maybe they're not in the language that people we work with understand. So by being able to have these conversations that are really member-led, like Aaron said, people are hearing it in a language that they understand. And it again comes back to the peer mentors. So Andrew is an ambassador, and Mary and Kaz are peer mentors, and they lead the majority of the conversations. Really, I'm just there to like hang out. So people take a lot of different things away from this project, from the Let's Talk About Sex courses and drop-ins. I see when I was putting this together, I had a small cry at this slide, because I was just like, this is it. This is why we do what we do, because people need to know that there is hope, that it's that they can connect, that they have community, that they are being heard. What we've also found is an eagerness to tap into much larger conversations around sexuality and disability, and bringing in lots of different language. So I mentioned before LGBTQ plus identities, and we found a lot of intersectional overlaps during this work and having these conversations. There's also been a bigger ownership of sexuality. People have found that, and you'll see it from our speakers, that this is their sexuality, this is their sex life, these are their decisions. And yeah, it's been fantastic. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now, and I am going to introduce Andrew, Stephan, and Kaz. So are you guys still there?
Yep.
How you doing?
All right.
Good. Okay, just give me a wee minute. I feel like I've just done a ton of speaking. I just need to regroup. Okay, fantastic. So I am gonna ask Andrew to introduce yourself.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Andrew. I'm an ambassador, and I work very happily and really enjoy my work. I work with Get2gether, and what we done before the pandemic was the ambassadors arranged suitable events for our members to go out in the open, safe, accessible events for them to go. And like in the name Get2gether, it gets disabled adults over the age of 18, it gets them together, sometimes relationships, sometimes closer. It gets us to bond. Now, since this pandemic has came in, we found this wonderful platform called Zoom, and a lot of our events are now online, just like we're doing today. Now, I work with a wonderful team, and Rosy's little baby was Let's Talk About Sex, which started online. It's never been done in person. And that is where members can sign up and come onto Zoom, and they can talk in such an honest, respectful, just willing to learn, and everybody gives their views on how sex and matters that that affect them, and everybody gives their opinion. And I was really scared going to Let's Talk About Sex at first, but I think, like remember John, it really was quite painless, and it was quite useful, and I learned to lead it a bit more. And a thing that we do at Get2gether is, my old boss used to say this, it's adult to adult, we talk to our members with learning disabilities or challenges as adults and with respect. And that is really felt all over Get Together. That's one of the nicest things a person with learning challenges can get is to be spoken to as an equal, like an adult. Now, today, this morning, we're going to talk about, well, it's to do with sex. We'll go with the word sex first. It's a really, really small word, but Get Together encompasses the whole different types of sex, everything. And the world is getting better in Britain for accepting lots of different types of love. And it really is moving on. But we're here this morning, and what we're going to talk about is a really nice word. We're going to talk about pleasure, and it's to do with sex. And at the Let's Talk About Sex, I have two peer mentors, Mary, who can't be here today, but Kaz is a peer mentor, and she's here today. And they assist Rosy making 1.5 hours of Let's Talk About Sex such useful, entertaining, and it really is fun. Now, could I introduce my peer mentor, Kaz, to talk now?
Kaz, let's see how your connection goes. Yeah, Andrew, that was stellar. Thank you. Yeah, let's see how your connection goes. And okay, no worries. Maybe I or Stephan can read out your intro.
I'll need to find.
That's okay. Maybe I put it in the chat.
Yeah, if you could, Rosy, read out Kaz's intro. Or if it could
technology, eh?
or if it could be pulled up, that would be fantastic, actually. If it could be pulled up, then that would be fantastic.
Just put it in the chat.
On the right there, Stephan.
So it says, who am I? At heart, 52 years, and still young at heart. My pronouns are she, her, although I recognise we all have potential for the yin and yang energy as in traditional Chinese philosophy. I am a nursery nurse and Tai Chi and Tai Gong instructor, retired. I don't need to get the other part of this. Where are we?
Just scroll down.
I'm right. Retired, but still active within my limitations. I have an incurable skeletal condition. I have been a Get Together member for several years, where I can be in my wheelchair, using walking poles or be mobile on a good day now. Wherever possible, I volunteer with Crew2000, where we provide sex, drugs, harm reduction information, vital educational tools, and peer support for the community as a whole. This includes mentoring schools, colleges, as well as providing workshops to raise general awareness.
Nice. So I'll say a bit about Mary, whose pronouns are she, her, he, him. Identifies as asexual non-binary person, and God broke his mold when he made Mary. So Mary has been involved with Let's Talk About Sex since its beginning and conception, and says it has been awesome, cathartic, and healing. Pleasure is everybody's right to experience and have. So Mary would normally do our safe space agreement so much better than I will or can, but basically we have no tolerance of homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, sexism or racism. There's confidentiality of what's said stays in the room. It's adult to adult conversation, so there's no infantilization. And Mary would then give a definition of infantilization as how would they put it?
Of talking down.
Yep, no talking down. And ask of try to be present in the conversation. So, fantastic. But basically, these are our fantastic gang. And what we would usually do in a session is open conversations around a certain topic. So today we're going to be talking about pleasure. In a minute, Andrew is going to... Oh, no, sorry. Oh, my goodness. How rude. Stephan, you didn't introduce yourself. I was just warbling away. Back we go.
Stephan will do his stuff.
That's okay, Rosie, that's okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephan Tait. I am the digital ambassador for Get Together, plus their longest serving resident DJ. And I was the one playing the tune as you came in this morning, and I'm going to be playing you out with some music as well at the end of the session, just while you're doing your little show. And I believe we have someone else joining stage at the minute, but we'll come on to Katrina shortly. I have been involved with Get Together for 8 years, basically since day one, starting out just as a sessional worker and as a DJ at our club nights, which we hold in the attic. In August 2020, I got the opportunity to become a Get Together digital ambassador, so doing stuff like this, and I've never looked back. My involvement with LTAS has been quite sporadic. When it first started, way back in the day when we first went online during the pandemic, I went to the very first Let's Talk About Sex course, and I really enjoyed that. It was about exploring our bodies and mainly talking about self-love and what gives us pleasure, which is what we're talking about today. But over the months and the last year and a bit, I try and drop in when I can, and when I can drop in, the sessions are really enjoyable and really fun, and we're not we're not to be scared of. It's all about audience participation, and it's user-led as well by our members and our fabulous peer mentors.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I was going to ask Katrina, but I wonder if Katrina just needs a wee minute to see what we're up to and see what's happening. So maybe instead we could kick off. Yeah, fantastic, you're in. It's quite difficult to not have one eye on the chat, but full attention. Wonder if we could kick off a conversation about pleasure. And you know, Mary was going to start us off with a question around what does pleasure mean for you? And I'm really interested. So I know that you guys are going to have a conversation here, but I'm really interested for people to put their answers in the chat. And I know that you could put up your hand if you want to come on stage. So this should be jokes.
It's going to be fun. But what does pleasure mean for me? Well, as I've been saying all week when we've been talking about it, Rosie, to me, pleasure is just having a nice time getting to be familiar with your body, whether it's through masturbation, touch, or whatever. But as I've actually been saying all week, guys, porn is as regularly available as it's going to buy a cinema ticket in your local cinema. So if at any time you basically want to explore pleasure, you can do it. It's pretty much on tap. You just have to know how to access it. And the good thing is, 99% of it is free as well. So there's times where you think, oh yeah, I'm quite in the mood for giving myself some self-love or pleasure today, and you can just access it on tap, and that is basically how I do it, being single, and that's what pleasure is for me.
Amazing. That's so fab. Andrew, I'm going to come to you next. Can I just ask someone who knows about Airmeet? Aaron has his hand up. How do I get him on stage?
You'll get an invite, Rosie, from either Becky or Disha. And he just has text. There he is.
I'm obsessed with the fact that you work for Airmeet now, Stephan. Yes. Hey, Aaron. How you doing?
Good to see you, Aaron. Welcome to the virtual stage.
I thought that Aaron wasn't going to be able to make it this week because of many things, and you're here. I'm so pleased.
I'll keep an eye out for your comments in the chat, buddy. I'll keep an eye out for you.
Brilliant. Jules has just put information on queer feminist porn in the chat, which I think is great, because actually the conversation of porn usually leads into many different topics, and we did talk about porn the other day. I think not the other day, but one of the sessions was in August, and it's a huge topic. So thank you for sharing, Stephan and Jules. Aaron is typing about what pleasure means to him.
So I'll keep an eye out for this comment, Aaron. And is it going to have the Aaron language on it? I thought it's not. Right, let's have a look and see if it's arrived. Are you still typing, Aaron?
Andrew, are you still with us? I don't know if your internet's...
He's just gone.
Okay.
But
so, wanking and food, brilliant.
Oh, it's
pleasure in a nutshell. Or is it waking? I didn't think it was waking, Aaron.
Aaron, is it wanking and just tell everybody on the food? Is it sausage rolls, my friend? Yeah, Aaron's got a big thing for sausage rolls, guys, just so you know. Which, the shape of a sausage roll, I guess it could be quite, I don't know, appropriate.
Do you need? Do you even need to spell it out?
Not really. Not really, but just to say that Aaron has a big thing for sausage rolls. But no, that's great, Aaron. If that's what pleasure is to you, it's fantastic. Something which brings you joy and you enjoy the feeling of. Yeah, that's exactly it, Aaron. That's exactly it. I don't know if Rosie wants to expand, but for me, it's pretty self-explanatory what Aaron is on about there.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. I'm just wondering if Kaz is able to type anything. I don't know if Katrina wants to type anything.
You guys can feel free to type away. We have another raised hand function as well popped up.
Yeah, I know John Gallen is here.
Cool.
John, what other get together members are here that would love to join in?
So we've got John Gallen, we've got Aaron, we have have from our wonderful staff team, we have yourself, obviously, Ella, Moitza, and John's just asked to come up on stage, I think.
Hi,
Isn't it
John.
cute? Hi,
And
Katrina.
Katrina's here as well. Nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, John.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here.
So good to see
stuff,
you.
John. Good stuff. So, what does pleasure mean for you, John? And then we'll come to Katrina with the same question.
Pleasure means for me is having so many friends around you. The amount of support, well, especially with you guys, that you give me join being, being part of Get Together. It's just been absolutely amazing. And there's so much love and friendship with that. It's so supportive. And that's what the pleasure is, is having lots of friends around you. What else?
I love that, John.
I love that too.
Supporting each other. So if they're feeling very down or lonely, or they might find something difficult about sex, for example, they might feel embarrassed, and it's good for them. It's good for I would support them with that and give them the right information as well, and make sure they understand about what sex is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a very nice comment in the chat from Aaron. It says the meaning of sex means different things to different people. Like experienced sexual, but it's a bigger thing, which is fairly true actually. And it does mean different things to different people. And I noticed Claire, who's also on the LTAS course, has commented saying very true, and it is very, very true. It does mean different things to different people. Like John's experience of pleasure is very different from mine, and it's probably very different from Aaron's. It doesn't have to be all just about watching porn and giving your body self-love. You might feel a connection just by a hug or a touch or just being around somebody, and you know what I mean. It's
that, because that's actually the point that Mary would usually makes as well about like well, I won't speak on his behalf, but yeah, it is very different for everyone. Aaron talked about wanking, Kaz has talked about masturbating, but equally John's talking about supporting friends. And I think we had a conversation in one of the sessions about the pleasure of a good conversation, of like connecting and feeling like the joy of talking about sex. It's great. It's so much fun. I think when I tell people that this is my job, they're like, surely that's really awkward. And I'm like, no, it's great. It's so much fun.
Claire says, so much fun in capital letters.
Claire has been coordinating on the course with me. And Claire,
if you want to come up to stage, Claire, feel free.
Yes, I wish more people would talk to. Can I just check in with Katrina and just say it's so nice to see you. Well done for getting on. And ask if there's anything you would like to contribute.
Well,
One of the things I've been focusing on is a bit similar to Mary. I'm kind of writing down, but making myself aware of what my boundaries are. Because up until now, I've had no idea what my boundaries are. I know some of them, but not all of them. And I think going forward in the near future, if I do meet somebody else, that's something that I would like to have in place, so that I can share that with them.
A strong boundary.
Because I do feel my relationship I'm in just now, and also my ex, there's been times where I don't feel that my boundaries have been respected. And that's kind of made me feel uncomfortable and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the Let's Talk About Sex and some of the advice I've been getting from Mary's been really helpful.
You've shared, you've been so open and honest in these sessions, and I think it's given other people a lot of support and community of thinking, look at Katrina. Katrina's sharing her story, and Katrina's talking about these things with such strength. I could do that. That could be me. So thank you.
And that's the thing. These Let's Talk About sessions, or LTAS as they're known, are designed for members to be open and honest and as frank as they want to be within the safe space. If they don't want to be open and honest, they don't have to be, but equally at the same time, if they do, then it's more than welcome, because they're among friends and they're in a total safe space, as our Mary would call it. And I think that's one of the unique things about the LTAS sessions as well, is quite a lot of people see sex or sex for people with disabilities as a taboo subject. It doesn't really get mentioned. My question to conference is, why does it not get mentioned? It should get mentioned, because at the same time, we're all the same. We've all got urges and feelings. We might be disabled, but that doesn't stop us having a sex life.
Here. Brilliant. That's, feeling confident to speak about sex is vital for being able to speak about your boundaries. Ding dong. That's brilliant. Katrina says, I love Let's Talk About Sex. They have helped me to be able to talk freely about anything. I went to Ann Summers, which I've never done. Here, Katrina, that's huge.
Wow, Katrina, well done you.
Yes. I won't ask how it was. I'll just assume you had a great time. So Andrew is not here. But hopefully he's coming back. Andrew's coming back. And Kaz had a question about wait a minute.
You are giving
Kaz,
Katrina so much confidence from John.
So I'll just put this in the chat.
If anybody has any questions, guys, please use the Q&A section, and they'll be flagged up to us as questions rather than comments.
Stephan's really been.
You can tell I've done this before, Ruth. Do you feel you have access to the pleasure you want in your life? And that's from Rosy, funnily enough.
Well, yeah, that was when we did the session plan. That was one of the questions that me, Kaz, Mary, and Andrew identified. Actually, not me. Kaz, Mary, and Andrew identified as important questions to ask in the session. So they would put that to you. So Katrina, Stephan, Kaz, if you want to contribute in the chat, anyone that wants to contribute in the audience. Natalie's asking how to put your hand up.
at the bottom of your screen, besides your camera and all your remote function, Natalie, there should be a little hand. Just press it and it should come through to us. I hope that worked for you. Katrina, do you want to answer that first off? The last question.
I had a funny feeling you were about to ask me that first. I've put yes and no for me, because there has been sometimes a yes, but there's been other times a no. But sometimes I feel as though I've got to get in a happy place before I'll even consider having pleasure or that. And sometimes that can be hard for me, because I remember when I did first do it with my hubby, I kind of had to stop halfway through and tell him that I actually didn't like it. And he kind of got agitated in that, but I just said, well, there's no point me continuing with something if I feel uncomfortable. So
yeah,
and,
absolutely.
But yeah, so when I went to Ad Summers, I bought 2 figs, and one of them was like a toy. It can help you pleasure yourself. And I actually tried that last weekend, and he quite enjoyed it. I actually seem to enjoy using that than my partner, which probably sounds a bit strange, but
Thank you for sharing that.
I just find that there's no pressure on the toy, because it can't speak or pressure you or that. So yeah.
Yeah, that is it, isn't it? Isn't it? It's the pressure.
We've got a comment for you, Katrina, from Jules, and it says, your honesty is great, Katrina.
Well, that's the thing about me. I'm like my mum. I'd rather be honest than I can't stand people that's fake.
And we have a raised hand.
Oh, do we?
And it is
Aaron's
Aaron.
back.
Aaron's back. Welcome back, Aaron. I'll just pop the chat up so we can see your comments.
A question for us all.
Oh, okay, Kaz says, is sex a secret kept for Santa once a year? Why are there so many pubs, considering all the people on medication wanting connection with people who we can trust? And that's from our Kaz.
Okay, I feel there's a lot going on in the chat, so we'll hear we'll hear Aaron's question, and then we can backtrack, because Moitz have put something brilliant in there as well about information. So, if you need to choose, what would you do first? Is this going to be about wanking and food?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have sex or have dinner first, right? I mean, I opened the floor, everyone.
I think I know where this is coming from, Rosie. If you remember the little scenario we done for the SCLD
oh my goodness.
workshop.
So I feel like contextually I need to say that, like, I'm not an actor, right? But we were talking about love languages, and one of the scenarios is I can't believe you put me in a position where I have to explain this. But one of the scenarios is someone's really horny and someone's really hungry, and has made a really nice dinner for the other person, and then the other person's turned up like, I don't care about the dinner, I'm really excited to have sex, but because it's a clash of love languages between time and touch. So I obviously acted that out in a very professional capacity.
Yeah,
and it's haunting me.
It was really good acting skills, Rosie, and your acting partner has just arrived back on stage with us.
Andrew's here.
So welcome back, Andrew. Welcome back. But I think as I said, Rosie, my answer would be to that question is if somebody's really horny and wanting to have sex and the dinner's made, then the short answer from you is bung the dinner in the oven, keep it on the low heat. You can do the deed, then you can go back to your dinner later on.
Do the deed. Right.
Nice and simple.
See, this,
welcome back,
this is
Andrew.
where
Welcome
a poll.
back.
This is where a poll would be excellent. But I don't think we can just bung a poll in, can we?
And we're out polls
Rosie,
after event.
you actually can. Normally we're kept for the end of the session, but maybe Becky might be nice and do a quick on-the-spot poll for us now.
So now that Andrew's back,
the question?
Now that Andrew's back, I want to hand over to Andrew as the person here who's been leading the most sessions and involved in the most sessions. So take the parole, Andrew.
No.
And do you want
to? We're just going to try and. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes, Andrew.
Imagine this is like a let's talk about sex session that is very, very popular with Get Together. Now, this is just one of the questions that we would. This is a let's talk about sex question that opens everybody up, giving their heart and giving their truthful answers. Now, the question we're going to ask is, I hope I've not missed it when I've been away. How do you figure out what is pleasurable or what is nice for you? How do you figure out? How do you know? And
we will come back to the sex or dinner question, Aaron, don't worry. But I think this is a good one as well of, how do you figure it out?
Don't worry, Aaron, it's just been put up as a poll so you can answer it to your heart's content, guys.
Myself, it's when it's in a comfortable, you're in a comfortable place and you know what you're doing isn't wrong. Hopefully you don't have that guilt that comes with sex sometimes. You know it's in the right place and you maybe got a good partner that you're comfortable with and you know things are just right. You just know, but you've not to feel any guilt about it because that is when you know, when you're not feeling any guilt and you know you're not doing anything wrong, probably in the privacy of your own home. That's my little view on it.
Yeah, I think that's
Stephan,
brilliant.
you've been having a wee think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the same pretty much for anybody with a partner. Because one, they don't want to be seen as forcing the partner. I think it's always nicer if it is sort of consented between both partners. Obviously, I can't talk for that side of things, but for me, what is pleasure? For me, pleasure is sometimes if I've got some spare time, is maybe just going on to, I don't know, Pornhub, you porn, something like that, just watching a little bit of porn, because at the end of the day, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Absolutely nothing. Because everybody talks about porn and everybody does it in some shape or form. And as I said earlier, it shouldn't be a taboo subject. Oh, you're watching porn. Yeah, what of it? You can watch porn if you want, but for me, it's just about maybe watching, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes if I've got any spare time, and then it can feel nice. But as Andrew says, after it, there is no reason or no need to feel guilty or whatever about you've just done, because you're your own person. You know your own body, and you know when the urge comes along, if that makes sense, to masturbate or be
Sex, like you're
embarrassed,
saying.
wank or whatever you need to do to make yourself feel nice, because as one of our speakers said in the rehearsal the other day, and I'm alluding to you here, Kat, you said that for people that have conditions and pain, sometimes having an orgasm can free your body for that 5 or 10 minutes. It can make your body feel really nice, really lucid, really pain free, and then because when you've had your orgasm, you're pretty much back in hell because you're back in pain again. But it can be a stress reliever as well for people with conditions and disabilities too.
And just like Stephan says, sex is everywhere. They use sex to advertise everything. Your adverts on commercials, I think some people call them. They're all, quite a lot of them are little pretty ladies walking about. They use sex everywhere, so we should not feel guilt about it, which does affect some people. They feel that what they're doing is wrong, and hearing Stephan talk frees you up to feel what you're doing is just human nature. It's just the way you were made, and you're not doing anything wrong. Is what I would underline. You're not doing anything wrong.
I think that question makes me think about access. So the question, like, how do you figure out what's possible and like what's available to you? So some people might not have ever had a conversation about porn or sex toys or even relationships or LGBTQ plus identity. So Aaron's away. So actually access and that question of do you feel like you have the access to the pleasure you want in your life is really tied in, do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And sessions like LTAS with ourselves that get together in the crew that make porn or sex knowledgeable to people, and it gives our members the knowledge to know that what they're doing is okay. It gives them the knowledge to go and think about self-love and sex, or even to go and buy, like Katrina done, a toy. And it's great to have this outlet of information. And if there's anybody in conference now, in our session now, thinking, I want to know more information about this, and I'm sure Moitz will put this up, but all you need to do is log on to our website and you'll be able to find more information on our LTAS sessions. And if you want to join us, please join.
Well, I mean, within reason.
Yeah, obviously within reason, but these kind of sessions make sex knowledgeable and accessible to people that might not have been able to access it before.
Exactly. So wonderfully put. Wonderfully put. Natalie has her hand up, which is very exciting. Again, yeah.
And Natalie is actually here.
Yes, well done. You made it.
Welcome, Natalie. Welcome.
Welcome. Nice to
Hi.
see you as always, Natalie. Have you
You
a
too.
question or a viewpoint?
Just a viewpoint. I'm not sure if my thingy came through because I was having internet problems, but just knowing that that there is a space to talk about these things that you maybe wouldn't admit to your family or friends that you don't know a lot of stuff about sex, and to be able to have that space to ask the questions that you don't know. It just, I don't know, for me it makes me more confident to be able to ask the questions. And I really enjoy the coming along and learning. I learn something new every time I come. So
What did you learn last time?
I can't remember because I can't remember what I done yesterday. Never mind.
I'm the same, Natalie.
If I knew, if I
good to hear.
if I could remember what it was about, then.
Oh wait, the last session was on porn, I believe. But I mean, the general gist of what you're saying is great.
So talking to your parents isn't always, maybe people maybe don't feel as comfortable, and even I would never talk about things like that with my brothers, or I don't know what everybody else feels. Families, for me, I find it still a bit embarrassing to talk. I don't know if other people feel in a different boat.
I think.
Sorry, Stephan, to interrupt. Can I just
Yeah,
jump
okay.
on the? It's in the same vein. It's the question that Moit's have put in about if you didn't get this information from Let's Talk About Sex, who or where would you turn to for these conversations?
Well, that's the thing. I think for me, certainly when I was in my teen years, talking about 15, 16, when obviously you experiment at that kind of age, sometimes maybe even younger for some people. I think for me, I certainly didn't speak to my mum, and I didn't know where to turn for information. Yeah, you got some stuff in school, but it's not as it's not as premium, let's just say, as the LTAS sessions. I think the stuff you get in your school days is a bit drib and drab, obviously, because it's got to be watered down for educational purposes. But if I didn't know where to get the information from Get Together and LTAS, I think, to be honest, you would struggle if you didn't have a network of friends or a really close group of friends. I think, to be honest, I would have certainly struggled.
And you don't really go down the Google road because you could just get into a mess, couldn't you, Stephan?
For some, yeah, you don't really go down the Google road and think, what am I going to search for today? You just don't do that. And I think having, and I'll go back to it again, but if you know where to access these kind of sessions, then access them, because there is nothing wrong with coming along to an LTAS session. You'll meet Andrew, you'll meet Rosie, you'll meet Claire. There's nothing wrong even going to Crew2000 on Coburn Street in Edinburgh and dropping in and just asking for some advice. And I think if you don't know where to access it, but something does also need to be done to get this information that we're talking about out there more widely available to a wider audience, because it's, as we've been saying all week, it's great talking about these things, but at the same time, it needs to be accessible and in an accessible format for people to access. And one of the ways could be having easy read guides on like a big portal website or something like that. I don't know. It's just my digital ambassador brain kind of ticking.
I suspect there's some stuff in the works. Just off the top of my head, I suspect that there's work happening in that department. Someone's just put in the chat, are any of the sessions online for people that are not in Edinburgh? So I'll say that actually everything's online. But these sessions are for people with disabilities, and I think actually that's why it's really interesting doing this for professionals or community, third sector community people, because we don't usually open our sessions, do we? So
feel comfortable to ask and say, and you never feel any. I was nervous coming along to Let's Talk About Sex at first, but it's so warm and people just ask and people give the whole room. Sometimes somebody would ask a question and you would get 6 different responses, and that person would go away feeling, well, I'm not the only one that feels like this. And it's an opening up, a respect, and everybody's listening to it. There's never any harsh talking over each other. Everybody gets, it's 1.5 hours, and everybody gets a chance to talk, or even, Stephan, they could just sit and they could just not talk at all and just be a quiet listener, and that helps. Katrina, would you want to have a wee word? Katrina, take a second.
Hand up. When you come, Katrina.
One of the sessions that the Let's Talk About Sex recently done was talking about the various types of contraception. And of course, everything was all coming up my head, and I was finding it too much to remember what was said. So I spoke to, I can't remember what her name was, but she was a nice woman that I met at Crew2000. Me and another member went along there, and I got advice about the different types of contraception and stuff.
Amazing. And Katrina, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it made me feel great. The only thing I was nervous about is I kind of had an idea, or I thought I had an idea of where I knew I was going, but I couldn't think for the life of me where or how to get to Crew2000, and that's why one of the other members, she came with me. But I now know how to get there if I was going there by myself now.
Sweet.
That's great, Katrina. That's great. And I was just looking through the chat, Rosie, and our Claire says, "What do you suggest, Stephan?" And this is going back to what I was talking about a moment ago. What I would suggest is not necessarily for us, because we do our stuff in house, but for other organisations like Crew and even the LGBT community as well, it is to have your information in an easy read format and easily accessible, if at all possible. I know it's a challenge, but your information needs to be out there and needs to be accessible and in an easy format, so that people with disabilities and or challenges can understand the information and can get useful links that we require to access information.
I think brilliantly put. I think it must, and Katrina, maybe you felt like that when you went along to Crew. Maybe was Kaz there? No, okay. But I still think having that connection of someone with a disability speaking to someone who you know is just going to instantly get it. Kaz has said the crew type conversations are all about sexual matters and have enabled everyone at Get Together to listen and share, work collectively. We can learn how to get connected with others that can care. So I think it's really helped having Kaz connect us like that.
And Sylvia
Yeah.
as well, not forgetting Kaz's partner.
No, Sylvia's been
Sylvia.
fantastic. And Alex as well has been involved in sessions. Is there anyone else from Crew2000 in the audience? Make yourself known.
Or is Kaz just representing with two hats today? That's what I'm like.
So really, a big question would be, what is the future of Let's Talk About Sex? Which Aaron asked earlier. Katrina, I'm gonna throw that one to you. For it to continue, that would be sweet.
Yeah, for it to continue, and I would maybe like to think when I've got the confidence to maybe, instead of participating like what I've done up until now, to actually, I can't remember the word, what Mary said.
Peer mentor?
Yeah, on it, yeah.
Amazing. Has seeing what Kaz and Mary do inspired you?
Yeah, when I've seen other people doing it, it kind of makes me think it. I can have once I've got the confidence that I can do that as well. So that's what I like. There is a member, but she's a bit shy about coming, but I just said to her that it's a nice, safe and a space where you can talk about anything. This is nobody's judgmental or that in any way.
Great. Andrew,
but every time I've been meaning to go, there's always something else come up, work related, that I've not been able to go along. Like this afternoon, it clashes with the Live Your Life course. So obviously I've got that hat on first, so I can't go.
More training and peer support for people with disabilities. Fab, John. Fab. Andrew, you want to come in?
Can I be heard okay?
Yeah, you're fine, Andrew.
Even I'm hoping people that have come to Let's Talk About Sex for quite some time can even open up more personally about things to do with sex, and they will be amazed how many people relate. If we can get more intense sounds a frightening word, more intense with our members. Oh, this is how I feel, and there'll be 4 or 5 people will feel exactly the same. It's more and more involved in it would maybe without being intrusive or uncomfortable, more involved about, every week we pick a subject and we know what subject's coming up, so hopefully you might have personal things you want to say regarding that subject, and like Rosy makes sure, and Mary makes sure it's a perfectly comfortable, respectful environment. Let's Talk About Sex could be going 15 years from now and it would still be as useful. It's not like studying and then you've studied it and you've learned. It just goes, it's a can, I shouldn't really say this, like it's a can of worms. There's so many different aspects. When you say can of worms, it's normally negative, but meaning it's just bursting full of, what we're going to talk about this week. We're maybe going to get a speaker in. There's so much to learn, and nobody, I think Rosy will be the first to tell you, nobody ever knows everything that they have to know. Some people know a lot, but always Always learning. That's a good thing.
I'll be the first to say that, Andrew. Don't you, Winnie?
Here, Andrew. Well said. Well said.
John's just brought up sex education, and I would love for John to come on stage and talk about sex education.
Yes, so John, if you want to come back and join us, feel free. Just while John's coming up on stage, if he is, Rosie, we have a question in the chat from Carly Moore, and this is, can individuals out with Edinburgh attend your group? Is there a waiting list, or can people just turn up?
So anyone with a disability who has access to digital, like Zoom, is more than welcome to sign up and come along and join us. So Moitz has just also said in the chat that put our email address in, so you can email and ask as well. And we have some capacity to do outreach. I think Claire also said that if professionals are interested, we can set up a Zoom, have a chat. The possibilities are huge. So it would be really good to hear what people, what's the word, want and what they need for the people that they work with. Hi, Robert. Sorry. So John
joined us, and we've got 10 minutes left, Rosie, just so you know.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. Yeah, I think you guys should watch Sex Education on Netflix. You will really learn from it. It tells you, it's a story about two students going through, the sex life and everything. And it just tells you, the actual story. There is lots and lots of sex, so please be aware of that. There's loads and loads, but it just tells you the story of of what people's like. And also there's a character who is gay in it as well, so it falls in love with another guy, basically, and it's just absolutely brilliant. So I think we should watch it all together, I think, and see what you guys think. Which will be amazing. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure at first, would I understand the program? But it really did, it really did. And it's funny as well. You get some funny scenes in it as well. So it's well worth a watch if anyone hasn't seen it before.
Brilliant, John. Brilliant, and a brilliant plug for the TV program as well. And Claire, just on your comment about doing a watch along, well, maybe one night we could turn one of my nights at the theatre and we could watch a couple of episodes of Sex Education. If anybody wants to do that, the offer is there.
Brilliant. So in the last 10 minutes, usually we would see where everybody's at. We would go around and individually ask, we would go around and we would ask everybody if they want to say a word that sums up how they felt about the session. Andrew, I don't know if you want to kick that off, and maybe we can open the floor to the audience as well.
Right. Now,
oh yeah, and the poll. How can I forget about the poll?
Oh, Stephan's poll.
There will be a poll at the end of the session, guys. Just 3 or 4 questions. It's just a tick box. All you have to do is...
I meant the sex or dinner poll.
Tick your answer. I think that one's still there. I'm not actually. So you'll just... Yeah, it's still there. That was probably my vote, actually.
No, everybody watching and all the people on the screen, what we normally do at the end of Get Together is and this lets everybody feel that they've given something to the meeting, to the afternoon. We just ask for one word, and it's quite good because when it comes to some people, it's more than one word, but it's useful about how you feel the afternoon went. And if you could just give one word in the question and chat as well, and I'll kick off, and then I'll get Stephan nervous. Stephan will be after me, and he's never nervous. My one word is just relieved. I think it's went really quite well. Now over to Stephan.
My word is hopeful, and I'm hopeful that the audience from today's session will take away what we've spoken about and can imply in some shape or form. Let's talk about sex session in their own organisation, and that's what I'm hopeful for. That people can speak about sex more freely and not be ashamed by speaking about sex or porn.
Katrina, do you have a few words about how this afternoon's went?
Fantastic. I'm only going to sum it up in one word.
You've done the right criteria. Now, Super Rosy next.
Can I just say, I hope that I feel like I can talk really quickly, so I hope if it's been clear and if there's any questions, please get in touch. And then can I just say that I'm very, very proud of my team. I think you've done amazingly, and it's just such a pleasure to work with you. So